That's all I've got. So we'll hand it over to Martín and check it out.
All right. Get set up here. All right.
Oh, I can talk over it.
Siri, oh, sorry.
So my name is Martín Castre. I'm the UI UX engineer at Influence Health. I'm part of a small team that works on a healthcare marketing app where users can essentially get insights into their patient data or their prospective data for their hospitals and clinics, whatever is part of their system. And the users can kind of build these like lists out of these targeted people, and then they can run like campaigns, print campaigns, email campaigns from those lists. So but recently we were tasked with building out this tool called the Custom Query Builder. And it's kind of working like a data exploration tool where the users can get just like a full count of all their potential users in their database, or their patients in their database. They can kind of filter down the results, and kind of like you would filter results down in Amazon. So kind of like the same kind of style. And then they can use those counts to talk to their bosses or whatever and show like potential campaigns that they want to run. So. And the tool that we used in order to scaffold this app was the SearchKit. And it is coupled with Power of Elasticsearch, like Dave was talking about. So SearchKit is a suite of UI components built in React that talk directly to your Elasticsearch cluster. So what SearchKit does in the back end is that it generates aggregations, and it runs this post filter, which essentially builds up the query that gets sent to Elasticsearch, and then Elasticsearch returns it, and SearchKit consumes it and then displays it in the UI portion of things. So it's essentially just the UI for your Elasticsearch. It's pretty cool. It's totally open source. It's TypeScript 6 compatible, and I think the main power of SearchKit makes it great is that it's very little config to set up. All you have to do is just give it your Elasticsearch index URL and pop it in, and you're good to go. So what I wanted to do is kind of demo the sample project that SearchKit gives you, so you can kind of see the layout at least. It's called SearchKit Starter App. All right, so to kind of give you this interface similar to IMDb, you've got three main parts of SearchKit, and the first part being this filters view on the left-hand side. You got the ability to click on filters and then filter your results down. So they have a bunch of different kinds of filters. You can see you got a range filter. You've got checkbox list filters and all sorts of other different ones. So the cool thing about, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a number associated to each potential option, and that number is reflected on the number of records you have in your Elasticsearch if you run that filter. So if I do a search for Hugh Laurie, I get 41 results found, and that matches the number over here. So it's pretty cool that users can immediately see how many records would match that filter over here. So I'll go into the code a little bit more in detail later on. And the main part of this view is the kind of like the records view in the middle here. You got, out of the box, you got a grid view and a list view. Both of these components are completely customizable to your liking. And then you got like this results found number. So I got 4,000 people, or 4,000 records in my Elasticsearch. And obviously as you start filtering down, you'll see that number change. And the other main part being the search bar, you can give it an array of Elasticsearch fields that you want it to prioritize over. And you can also add boosting, phonetic matching and stuff like that. However you set up your matchings, it'll needs to match the items in the array that you give it. So as you can see, it's super fast. It's instantaneous, and you got like the ability to remove individual filters. You can clear out the whole thing. The range filter is pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to go back to my presentation here. All right, so has anyone ever used Elasticsearch, heard about it, or ever used it in their product before? Okay, so a couple of you people have. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it's basically a full text search engine for your data. You have the ability to store data in Elasticsearch as well as run analytics on it. The thing that makes it super powerful is that it can potentially query millions of records in milliseconds. A lot of big companies use it, and it's grown significantly in popularity ever since Elasticsearch or Elastic Company has created it. So that's the kind of overview of Elasticsearch. I just wanted to gloss over it. Didn't want to go into that too much in detail. You got great documentation if you want to take a look at it. All right, so what I did was I just created this personal SearchKit project. I got a kind of fake data set from Elasticsearch. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Open Adam. All right. Well, actually, I should know it. So all right. So I went ahead and got a local instance of Elasticsearch in my local environment. I also got Kibana, which is like a visualization tool for your Elasticsearch. Just comes with the Elastic Suite. So I got this via Homebrew. If you're Mac guys, I would recommend that. But you can also still use Windows because Elasticsearch is JVM. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and run this. I'm going to first go into the Kibana so you can kind of see how the data is structured here. So I'm going to go to localhost 5601, which is the default port for Kibana. I'm going to go to DevTools, and I got this pretty basic get statement here where my index is called bank, and I'm going to do an underscore search on it. So I'm going to run that, and it gives you this JSON view. It took 10 milliseconds. I only got 1,000 records in it, so it's going to be pretty fast. And then in here, you got your hits array, which is every record, essentially. So if you're familiar with JSON, non-relational database, this is pretty easy. So, each person record has stuff like account number, balance, first name, last name, age, demographic stuff. It's just fake data that I got from some Elasticsearch tutorial. So that's the structure. And I want to go in to my project here. You guys see that all right? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so in my app.js, all I need to do is give SearchKit my URL, which is localhost 9200, which is default port for Elasticsearch, and the name of my index is bank. So I'm going to pass that into the SearchKit manager, and then pass that in a prop into the SearchKit provider, and then you're connected. That's all you need to do. So now it's up to you to build up the UI to whatever you want. So I'm going to go show you the interface real quick. Get it stopped. Okay. A little background: my wife is an auditor for BBVA, so I kind of like asked her what would be some typical use cases of a bank employee needing to find some customer information so they can contact them if there's something wrong with their balance or their accounts, get statement history, stuff like that. So I just utilized that with the fake data that I got from Elasticsearch, and I built this UI. So obviously, it's fairly similar to what you saw in the project. You got your filters on the left, your sidebar up top, and then your list view of records. I got a range filter here. I got what they call, what SearchKit calls a refinement list filter, which kind of like for loops over all the potential options under a field that has records in it. So as you can see, I got 507 males here. I got 25 people from Alabama, stuff like that. So if I wanted to do, let's say, anyone ages 25 to 35 that live in the state of Alabama, got 15 results. So, what I wanted to show you first is, so I'm gonna put that back up to 25 to 35, and people who are not. It'll be hard to see this. So in my network, I got this _search and the name of my index. And in the request, I got this property called a post filter. This is what SearchKit generates and then gets sent to Elasticsearch. It's gonna be hard to see this, sorry. Can y'all see that all right? Let me see if I can see purple. I'm gonna put this in my editor so you can see this better. Okay. So, if you're familiar with the query DSL of Elasticsearch, this is how you would run a query. Since I had applied 2 filters, it's going to run a bool must, which is an and statement. I got my range, and I'm looking at the age numerical values in between greater than or equal to 25, less than or equal to 35. And I'm going to and that to my term query here of Alabama. So as you can see, that was done in seconds, and it's super fast, and you can do fairly complex queries when SearchKit can do it right out of the box. So it's pretty awesome. So I wanted to show you the React code now. All right, so here's the pretty much the default JSX that SearchKit will give you. You got that top bar and that search bar that they give you, and the layout body will contain the sidebar of the filters and the main view. So the range filter, which is this bad boy over here, you can give it a min and a max value. The field being the Elasticsearch field that you want to query against has to be matching. And then you have the ability to show a histogram, which is cool. It shows you like a histogram of the people that match in there. So that's pretty cool. The next is the refinement list filter, which is the checkbox options here. The field that I want to query against. And I got this translations property here that basically tells SearchKit how to display the value that I want here. So obviously I don't want to display F and M for male and female. I want to show a more human readable format. So SearchKit knows that F is equal to female and M is equal to male, and it will send the F value to Elasticsearch. So the same thing with the states. I didn't want to add an entire huge list of states, so I created this file, state hashes. You know, just grabbed it from GitHub somewhere, and that has the human readable format for it. This size property is meaning I can show only 10 records at a time. I got this view all link that will run another query and then return all the possible results there. It's going to take a little bit more time because it runs an extra query. Sets the size to 0. And then you can also order sort by either the term, the key, or I think the number of counts. So you can go either by numerical or by the highest number of records. This numeric refinement list filter is the same as the refinement list filter, except it looks at numerical values. So anyone in the bucket of 15,000 or 45,000 in their account balance, I can run that. Okay. And in the main view, I got my hit stats component, which is the total count component here, obviously very customizable. You can extend the component to fit your needs, and then you can pass in kind of like a, if there's 0 counts found, 0 results found, you can show this component or show a different message depending on that. You got your grouped selected filters, which is these kind of tag buttons here that I styled differently, obviously. You have the ability to individually remove one, or you can use that kind of clear all filters to reset your state. And then the bread and butter, the view switcher hits. This kind of lays out what those tab buttons are over here, the name of the values and the components that you want to pass in. So you need to pass in a custom component. In this case, for my list view, I want to pass in this people hits list item that I created, which is here. And basically, this is now all React, however you want to style it, to build it up. And what I just did was I looked at the props results underscore source and assigned that to the person view, or person, and then I'm just accessing all the properties of the person however I want to. I just did this random image generator. Doesn't work very well because this dude is definitely not named Ariella, but who cares? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is all JSX. It's, however you want to do it, and then the grid view is pretty much the same thing, styled to your purposes. Let's see, what else we got? All right, and then yeah, so like I pulled in a SearchKit CSS file, and I just dropped my Sass variables in there, and then I can just completely redo the UI to fit my needs. So that makes it super simple. Sass is awesome. All right, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to show. So SearchKit is not the only tool out there, but it certainly offers the best customization experience. It's been out there for a little bit longer. There are a few drawbacks though. The docs aren't that great. They kind of just give you one example and then they call it quits. There's a lot of issues piled up in their GitHub, but it is an active development. They're constantly pushing out good releases, and like I said, it's not the only tool, but it's certainly the more extensive tool that they got. I would recommend using it for prototyping. Or you could just simply use it as an ag generator. You just control how you want to show the UI, and then just use its power to just generate the queries for you and return the results. So, all right, I think that's all I got. Any questions? I went pretty fast, so.
Can you show where you wrote the Sass?
Yep. All right, so. My main app, I threw in just a local copy of the SearchKit CSS and my vendors, and then I just replaced all the variables that I wanted to with my own stuff. Cool. So, I mean, it's fairly simple. There's nothing crazy to it, but it allows you pretty good customization and good enough that SearchKit provides a very small style sheet, so it's not some crazy customization nightmare.
So along those lines, I noticed you had a lot of like class names in your JSX. Was that to reference the custom styles?
About these things?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are my custom styles. But what they use is Ben blocks to pass in essentially like styles relating to each component. So if you did want to customize or kind of customize the layout to fit your needs, but you wanted to keep a lot of their existing styles, you would pass in the them blocks prompts, and it'll generate all that styling for you.
So as far as like the custom styles you had, like what was that affecting? Because you also mentioned the SAS variables can be used to.
Yeah, and it's simply just I have my variables called before I render the SearchKit, so that gives me access to all the overrides.
So why wouldn't you use this in production? You kind of
Well, mostly because of our experience working in it. We were told to build this completely enterprise level app, and we ran into a lot of things that it won't hit all your use cases that you want. So what we found was we'll just use it as an ag generator. SearchKit does have the ability to you can send a generated Elasticsearch query to it, and then it will just return the results. So if you do know what you're doing in terms of creating an Elasticsearch query, you can create a query and then it'll return. So that gives us the customization to do.
So you're using it just as a query generator to actually query your Elasticsearch and then look at your own front end. Okay.
So we've got it in our UI on the left-hand side, and we're really using the aggregations that it provides. So we can take, we have other UI controls that these guys have developed that allow you to create a query in line, like doing ands and ors and all that kind of fun stuff. But it's a lot more complex than you can do with SearchKit. SearchKit's really just on-off flags, filters, or ranges. So we're doing like complex nested queries and
Directly, but not
right, not through SearchKit. We have a UI that guides the user to create it, and we send it to a back-end service that actually turns that into an Elasticsearch query. And then like Martin was saying, there's a place that you can plug in basically a default query. And so we're shoving that query that we just generated into SearchKit, and it makes it regen the ags. So the user's getting like a live view of their query and how it's affecting the aggregations on the left-hand side.
cool. So you're the best go.
Doesn't Savant do that?
It does, but we don't want to expose Savannah.
So it's a customer-facing aggregate.
Yeah, and we're dealing with PHI. So, for instance, you saw how easy it was to plug in and just give them Elasticsearch. Well, we had to, make a proxy for all that stuff, where that, matches the signature that SearchKit's expecting, but it's behind security and auditing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a question. So the experience I've had is with AWS Elasticsearch and React App, dealing with force issues and all that junk. So like, how does SearchKit work on the browser? How does that work?
In what way?
Like on the client, like this essentially is your React app is able to directly.
No, there's microservices.
Oh.
Well, in our production environment, there's a proxy that I'm talking about that handles auditing and everything. And so we have a microservice in the back end that's actually directly communicating with our super secure Elasticsearch instance. We would never just stick an Elastic. I just never recommend just sticking an Elasticsearch instance out there in the cloud for anybody to play with. So as far as cores is not an issue at that point because we've got all that stuff masked inside of our own little isolated AWS environment. But there are core settings that you would have to play with. You had, for instance, even if your Elasticsearch instance was on a machine in your network, by default, their core settings don't allow direct access. You have to open that up.
And just for demo purposes, I just did a local instance of Elasticsearch, and I just passed in the default port and the name of my index that I had to do in Elasticsearch side, obviously.
So you're just making REST calls.
Right.
That you're very confident.
Is it possible to sync a MySQL database to Elasticsearch?
Sync in what manner?
So connect to it in some fashion. I already had a SQL database for the app I'm working on. I'm wondering if I should just transfer that info over to Elasticsearch or connect them.
I don't know if there's any out of the box ETL type tools to do that kind of stuff. I've never investigated because we're dealing with so much data that we've written our own because we've got massive amounts of data. We tried using some out of the box stuff at one point that that was just it wasn't able to scale. So we had to use Spark to do it in a distributed manner to speed up our ETLs. But yeah, it's pretty basic. You know, you just got RESTful endpoints that you can hit, and so you just do a post on your index, and you're posting to it. So, but there are of course libraries for all the languages out there that obfuscate your interaction with Elasticsearch.
Okay. We did something like that.
Or abstract. So obfuscate. You don't want it to obfuscate. You want abstract. What's our?
No, just to Nathan's point, like we had a Postgres database, so not MySQL, but it's
similar.
It's
Postgres.
Postgres.
Yeah.
And so we had to have a script that basically streamed data from that, like near real time, to Elasticsearch as a secondary data store for aggregation. You know, all the aggregation stuff that it's good for. And so that was nice until we decided that didn't scale well, and then we actually just dumped everything into DynamoDB, and then we just created streams into Elasticsearch, and so that was really nice.
Okay.
So
According to Stack Overflow, you're supposed to use the JPBC connector.
yeah, there's a right way to stream it to Elasticsearch.
Okay. I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Your database is just a REST API. The way it is, you can connect it directly.
What have you found, like, what are easy things to style and difficult things to style as far as like that? Because at least I know so far working with, there's a lot of dumb components in there.
Yes. Yeah, they only have a couple of actual components that are out of the box that are customizable or extendable. In this case, you have the ability to extend the refinement list filter, any of the filters, I think, the hit stats, and any of the the view components. I was able to style the group to selected filters, but that's purely just Sass, or CSS. So you could really just go into the CSS and style. But they use a fairly complex system of event blocks to target individual nodes. But in our custom query builder, we were able to do a lot of styling without any crazy issues. But the ability to extend existing components to do other things that SearchKit's not expecting is a little bit difficult.
You gotta read the source code.
Yeah, basically, yeah, just write your own. And documentation is not that great for extending components, so word of warning there.
So it's all TypeScript underneath the covers. He inherited from one of the controls because we needed to change the way it was doing stuff. So we just overrode its small functionality and implemented that one in our app instead of the base.
Some of the dump pages still have to do.
They definitely, if anybody wants to get involved in an open source project, their documentation can really use a lot of work. This is great.
All right, let me show you an example of how we extended.
So is this a app you're using right now, or is it just a demo
Yes.
app? Oh,
Well, I mean, what you showed was a demo app, but
Yeah.
he's showing our code right now.
how does
So
that-
we got a.
I mean, I'm pretty sure nobody's gonna, steal our IP from 50 lines of code. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, so here's an example of how we extended the view switcher heads into our custom one, because we actually use a map in our UI based on like the zip code location of the person, we can run distance aggregation, stuff like that, even on a radius. So we needed to completely customize view for that SearchKit had no idea how to do. We also ran into an issue where we could not cache results. And then because SearchKit sets the size to 0, or sets it to 10,
10.
By default, and there was no good way to set it to 0 when you switch views. So we extended
the default view for no hits. So if you set it to 0.
Yeah, then it says no hits.
Yeah.
But what we wanted it to do was run a query with size set to 0, which size 0 basically just doesn't return you back the actual body of the results, it just returns you the aggregations. And we wanted that aggregation result to drive our map, to aggregate by zip code basically. So we just had to punch it in the face until it did what it wanted to do.
Talking about that hit stats, for some reason it did not come with commas in the large numbers, so I had to kind of extend that. Here's an example of using the bend blocks to make sure all the associated styles came with it, but also just ran this format count number, passing in the hits count that SearchKit generates. So that's a super simple way of extending that existing component there.
Another question?
Yeah.
Sort of evaluating this. So what would the advantage be using this versus like a thin API layer node or something? Just hits an API.
I think it depends on your use case. Like for us, we were kind of dragged into using this by our CTO. So, you know, we made the best of it. And like I said, it's good for prototyping, I think, for the best. But it's aggregation
We
generated.
probably could have
very
written an
powerful.
ad generator anytime it took to figure out how to
Yeah.
re-implement some of this stuff.
But we were looking at other tools, and I think SearchKit's still the better option.
So it's pretty simple to pick up, and you pretty much can do everything.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to-
search right there.
Yeah, all you have to do is just give it the endpoint that you need to hit, and then it's up to you to style it how you want.
I would say Elasticsearch generally has, it's really, really good if you're trying to provide like an Amazon product experience, where you're doing searches and you're filtering out your list. Like, but when you start extending it beyond that, that's when you're like you'll run into like a lot of issues and things like that.
What are you guys planning on? You guys are using Elasticsearch with React, right?
Yeah, well, actually it's an Elixir.
Okay.
We're basically, I've been working on like taking like the Elasticsearch results, and just using it just as a search or a, kind of like a, I'm trying to think like I'm putting in the spot, but like,
Sorry, man.
kind of like a, just to, like, because we were doing a lot of filtering on the client side, and of course that doesn't scale well. So we like wanted to use the Elasticsearch part, because like on back in Elixir, we get our results, but we're throwing it into Elasticsearch as well, and just building those indexes off of the search results, because each user has a specific list that we're working with, and so then we're going to use that to query from the search components that we have in our React UI, like a proxy through the REST API that we're hitting to Elasticsearch. So that's the kind of thing we're doing right now.
Where are you working?
VDI.
Okay. Wow, that sounds like exactly what you like.
So at Fetch, we're using it through our our Ruby on Rails backend. So we're doing similar, but with Ruby on Rails. But I mean, the filtering capability seems really cool if we could do that on the front end. I worry about exposing the Elasticsearch database to the front end. How do you guys,
So there's it's a public API endpoints, of course, behind authentication, first of all. And that goes to our microservice layer where it goes through authorization checks. We're using a token, and you go, oh, you've got access to this client, and you can hit this route. Okay, cool. If not, it just immediately rejects it. And then it goes to a microservice that takes it, and then that microservice actually hits Elasticsearch.
So what is that?
What is what? The microservice? Or
well, but this is not going through the microservice, right? This is going.
This is straight to my license.
So he showed a demo, and that's basically it looks similar.
Okay, so your app doesn't actually do that, right?
Our app goes to our normal API hidden behind everything. And
We would show it, but we have PHIs.
we can't show our stuff to help information.
Gotcha. Cool. So no one's really recommending using Elasticsearch openly in production.
I would say we've been using it for 3 years now.
But the production.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I would never expose. There's a lot of ways, and each subsequent release of Elasticsearch, two things. If you think JavaScript moves fast, Elasticsearch loves some breaking changes, buddy. Loves it. So we're still on 2.2 in production. Now keep in mind, Elasticsearch skipped 3 and 4 They went to 2 to 5, and now they just released 6. So we're 2 releases behind, but there's so many breaking changes between major release versions that we're just like, nope. I mean, the entire query language changed between
Same
2
between
and
1 and 2, so like
Yeah.
I can't upgrade.
we,
Right
we
now.
yeah we upgraded from 1 to 2, and then like I'd say about 3 weeks after we upgraded to 2, they were like, oh, here's 5. We were like, awesome. Like we just spent 2 months upgrading this stuff. They're gonna turn around and redo it again.
All right, well, thanks to Fetch for the venue and the awesome food, and David Moore
Thanks to you, brother.
for leading the meetup. So I can post this on my GitHub. I think it is on my GitHub. So if anyone's interested, just hit me up on Slack or my email, and then I'll gladly share what I've learned.
Can we share it on the meetup?
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
Thanks, Mark.